what kind of assurance can you give them that that mindset is one that they should keep watering? Because I feel that often, and you've probably heard this in your seminars time and time again, people are like, Tony, I'm trying, I read the book, I'm trying to put it into practice, but I still keep failing or I still keep struggling. Someone who's already on, but feels that failure, that rejection, that pushback, what can keep them going?
I think it's understanding there's no replacement for persistence, as simplistic as that is. It's like, disappointment either destroys you or drives you, and you have to decide which one it's gonna be. If you don't consciously decide, there's always gonna be more BS for you to deal with. And but that's why I think, when I do my events, the reason I do the 12 hours a day, it's not because I like talking. It's just that I can tell you something all day long, or I can get you to build the muscle.
Yes.
And the building a muscle is by experiencing it. I always tell people a belief's a poor substitute for an experience. Like I could have a belief about you, but now I experience you. So I get to know who you are, right? The same thing's true as like you have a belief about China, you have a belief about working out. So I try to give people experiences that are so profound. And then, the studies they did, they found people 12 months later, 11 months later, we're still in the middle of COVID. They did my digital seminar. And they measured my body, like the amount of times I jump 1,000 times in a day, and I weigh 282 pounds, and I come down 4 times the body weight, so it's 1,000 pounds times 1,000 pounds of pressure. My lactic acid, if you've ever been with a friend and you're running and you can't talk, the point you can't talk is a level 4 of lactic acid. I'm at an 18 and still speaking. So they decided to do that on my audience, and they found an interesting pattern. This is the same group that works with some of the Super Bowl champions and some of the Stanley Cup champions and so forth. There's a ratio in the body of testosterone versus cortisol, the stress hormone. And when the ratio is balanced, they call it the championship bloodline or bloodstream. It literally gets you to follow through. So when they did my audience in my live seminar, they found that people literally mirror me all the way through the experience.
That's phenomenal.
Biochemically.
That is phenomenal.
But then we did it, because all of a sudden, overnight they said to me, we're going to San Francisco, and the governor of California says, you can only have 10 people, and we got 15,000. So I was like, we'll go to Vegas. They'll never shut down Vegas. They shut down Vegas. I was like, okay, we'll do 1,500 movie theaters with 10 people in them. They shut down the movie theaters. Like, okay, we'll go to a church in Houston. I got a buddy, I'll rent his church for 15,000 people. They're not gonna keep Costco open and shut down the church. They kept Costco open and shut down the church. So I finally said, okay, I'm not gonna do some crappy little webinar. So I get this vision. I'm gonna build this facility with 20-foot high LED screens, 50 feet wide, all around me. I'm gonna call Eric Yon at Zoom. I'm gonna get them from 1,000 up to 25,000 people so I can interact with people live in real time. I'm gonna build an app so they can shake it. And the more people do it, the louder it gets, so it's real. So I built this whole thing. So now we're doing bigger events than ever in our entire history. But they did the same measurements on them in different parts of the world and saw the exact same mirroring process.
Wow.
And the average person,
even digitally, just to clarify that,
71% of the people, they had 71% drop in negative emotions, 53% improvement in positive emotions, and 11 months later, in the middle of COVID, it held. Because it's a biochemical change. So when people say, oh, I'm trying, I write books because it's an easy entry point to people. There's so much you can learn from a book, but there's nothing like the experience. That's why I do the events. And like this last 2 years, because of COVID, I did 2 6-day free events. We had 800,000 people attend for 6 days, just 4 weeks ago, because I just wanted people to have answers where they are. And then people start to see, they get momentum, but it's hard to do just reading something or watching a couple of, 20-minute or 15-minute or 5-minute little pieces on YouTube.
Yeah.
Those are great, they might inspire you. But a transformation requires immersion. It's like, if you ask the average person, did you study a foreign language in school? Most people, oh yeah, high school, college, speak it. They don't. But if you turn around and you said, okay, what if you want to learn Italian and I just took you to Rome and dumped you off for 6 weeks with no teacher, you're going to come back 6 weeks later speaking, Italian. So it's immersion. And if you want to master something, I think that's the thing most people don't do. They read a little bit, they listen a little bit, they dip in and out. They don't go day and night, night and day in total immersion in something that transforms them, and also something that makes them push through their fears. Because in the end, that's the only thing that stops you. Everybody's got a story. I didn't know this person. I don't have the resources. They have all the things they don't have. But if you're resourceful, you can get the money, you can get the time, you can get the energy, you can get anything you want. And you've got to get over your fear to be resourceful. So we do experiences that are so physiologically profound that those fears do not stop you anymore. And that's how we get people to get, 10 years later, they're still transformed from an experience that was one weekend.
The fact that people are mirroring you, that is,
you should see it on a
through
curve.
a screen, that is mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
And that's through a screen too.
Yeah,
that blew my mind even more.
But you know what's really cool about the screens is, like, if you're in my seminar, you're in a giant stadium, and I'm a dot. Most people watching me on a screen anyway, right? Unless you're in the front rows. But you know, I can see your eyes, I feel what's going on. I'm running around the building. Here, I can scan so many people, and I see them in their home. I see them with their children. I see the interaction with their husband or their wife. I see what they're eating. You know, and I'm with them 12, 13 hours a day for 3 or 4 days. And we start here, for example, at 10 a.m., and we're in 195 countries. So we got one for 25,000 people, March 17th to the 20th here. And we will have people in Australia starting at midnight and going till 1 in the afternoon the next day for 4 days. And people in Italy are doing it at a different time. So it's like, we literally have the whole world engaged. So that's been the blessing of COVID. It's like I always tell people, you use stress or stress uses you, right?